I got to say, New Amsterdam Radio is brought to you in part by Anchor FM. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? You see, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? And most importantly, I don't want to deal with cables and wires and all those things. You see, the answer to every single one of these questions is pretty simple. Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And you can use your phone, which is pretty awesome. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. New Amsterdam Radio starts now. Hello, everyone. It's Flobo Boys here, the mayor of this city of creatives. You know, one of the things I like about this show is being able to sit with other creatives who are deciding to do the thing. But my guest on today's episode is someone that decided to do the thing and is excelling at it. DJ Profit, CEO of TWK Events, is a DJ and MC business out of the tri-state area of New York City. So that's the New Jersey area, the Connecticut area, for those of you are the uninitiated, has done so much with his brand and his philosophy and his upbringing. It was cool to sit with him to see his outlook on things, outlooks on his business and the business moving forward in the wake of the great pandemic of 2020. Before I get into the interview, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting the show. And there's two ways you can do that. Just a step further, you can become a Patreon subscriber, a member of the Boisterous Crew, as I like to call it, by hitting up patreon.com/FloboBoys. Get exclusive access to content such as this, like interviews on New Amsterdam Radio and bonus behind-the-scenes footage. Also, if you want to buy yourself a mug or a mask or a t-shirt, it's flobito.threadless.com. We have some cool designs over there on the website. Make sure you hit that up, flobito.threadless.com. Buy yourself a t-shirt and support the arts. And now, without any further ado, this is the CEO of TWK Events, DJ Profit. Hello everyone, Flobo Boys here, and this is New Amsterdam Radio, the New Amsterdam Session, the podcast for creatives. And I have myself a very special guest because a lot of times our viewers are on the start of their entrepreneurial journey and they're trying to make that jump. But my guest has been doing it for over 2 decades. Please welcome TWK CEO, Jose. How's it going, sir?
What's going on, Flobo? Thank you very much for having me,
house, man.
Yes,
no, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, man.
Pleasure's mine.
Yeah, I'm so proud that we see so many people making the jump to being an entrepreneur. But you also, as a person of color, have done it for 2 decades. I mean, talk to me about that. That must be a crazy milestone.
Yes. Thank you, man. Yeah, pretty much. Started off in music a couple of decades ago, actually 3 decades. I'm scared to say how long, but it's been a while. And no matter what I did, no matter what I was in as far as school or having fun going out, hanging out with the fellas, always had something to do with music. Yeah. So, long story short, I was fortunate enough to have music in me from birth. Son of Puerto Rican parents, so a lot of salsa, a lot of stuff that I thought back in the day was old, right, for old people. And from there on, just pretty much got into the hip-hop scene when I was a teen. Hollis, Queens is known for his hip-hop, obviously. And a couple of friends of mine ended up going to a club called the Copacabana in New York City.
Yeah,
I went with them with my brother's ID, which back in the day we didn't have a picture on it, so I got in with my brother's ID, and my life changed pretty much. I got into Spanish music. And I, from that point on, just knew that music was in me. To make a long story short, and here I am today, X amount of years later, with what I always thought was impossible. Right? You never thought you'd work for yourself. Never I never envisioned myself to be where I am now. It was more of a hobby that turned into a career.
Yeah, you mentioned that you represented for Hollis, Queens, excuse me. Hollis,
Yeah.
Queens. I'm a Brooklyn guy myself, and you know,
Right.
your parents are from a very musical, rich like country as Puerto Rico, or Commonwealth as Puerto Rico. Like, how did that influence your approach to music? So, look, a lot of people love salsa, but it takes a lot to like it, interpret it, and to find a way to mix and match that for new clients.
Right. Yeah. Music is a way of life, to say the least, for a Puerto Rican. I was born in Hollis, Queens. I was literally born in Jamaica Hospital. So
Oh, wow.
I'm part Jamaican. I tell everybody out of this.
Yeah, I
But
remember growing up, passing by, seeing that hospital, man. It was majestic.
and it's still there. That's the funny thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it played a big role in my life. I grew up actually in church. My father was Pentecost. I was the youngest of four. My sisters were into that disco era, and like I said, I was into that hip hop era. My parents were strong in their Latin roots as far as the music they listened to. A lot of plena, a lot of traditional Puerto Rican music, but for the most part, the party stuff was salsa in our household.
Right.
And it was pretty cool because I got to learn about it, although I didn't like it when I first grew up. I was strictly hip hop, house music, freestyle, TK, Judy Torres type of stuff when I was a teen. But eventually, when I found out who I really was, whether I liked it or not, my father made sure I knew my Latino culture. I was able to cultivate that into the stuff that I did. So today, here I am, pretty much mashing up. I can do an all-American, all-English party just as well as I can a Spanish party. But it's good, especially in this area of New Jersey, New York, PA. We have a big diversity in people. It's a melting pot, right? It's we're not in Mississippi or Alabama. We have a melting pot of people here. And growing up the way I grew up, you know, my neighborhood at first was Italian Irish. A lot of people didn't know that Hollis, Queens was Italian Irish at first. Although I was really, really young during that time, I did meet some friends who were Italian Irish. So this day we're still good friends. So I learned their music, learned my parents' music, and me and the hip hop scene pretty much mashed together. And that's what we do today, pretty much for.
Yeah, that's very similar to growing up. Like when my parents moved to Flatlands in Brooklyn, it was Italian Irish, and they were really the first Caribbean family that was there. And over time, it shifted to Caribbean in the 80s and 90s, and I think now it's shifting to more South Asians, Pakistani Americans, Indian Americans. It's kind of cool how New York has always been diverse, but it keeps like morphing and changing, and different flavors get involved and stuff.
Right, specifically Brooklyn. I mean, you're from Brooklyn. That's exactly what Brooklyn is now.
Yeah, even parts of it, man. I walk in there, I'm like, I don't know what a quinoa is, but there's so many quinoa restaurants, man.
That's right.
That's right. Changing. But speaking of food, man, your brand, it's called The Wedding Kitchen. I need to know why you decided to go with that name, because it sticks with you. You're like, The Wedding Kitchen? Are you like making weddings? Like, what does that mean, man?
You wouldn't be the first who said that. So I used to get upset when I used to hear that many years ago. Now I take it a great song. You know, it's actually our trademark. Makes us different from everybody else, you know, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. You know, that was something that I didn't want to be part of. I wanted to be different. And the story behind it was my mother pretty much gave us her hidden savings that she had hidden from my father back in the 90s to start our company. So when we started our company, it was mainly you know, like I said, music, Latin music. But I wanted to honor my mom, long story short. So we called, the actual business is called Margarita's Kitchen, Inc. So in our house, like many Puerto Rican homes, many New Yorican homes, it wasn't come home, sit down, have a cup of hot cocoa, watch some TV. It was always stuff going on. It was hectic. My father was a very macho kind of guy, so his word was final. So I don't want to say it was a turbulent upbringing, but it was definitely a lot of flavor. But in the kitchen, in my home in Hollis, the kitchen was always the safe zone. It was the safe room. Mm-hmm. It was where we sat down, where we ate, where my mom was always in the best of moods, and where I was in the best moods, where we all ate and hung out. It was pretty much the safe zone of the home, and the quiet place where, not quiet, but the safe place.
Yeah.
So when we were looking for a name, and wanted to honor my mom, we called it Margarita's Kitchen Inc. So when I first started DJing back in the day, I was called the Music Kitchen, and simply because it was part of the corporate name, and I was a DJ, so that's why I called it. Then when I met my wife in '02, she's a photographer as well, and when we got married, we decided to join our forces. She said, we can't call this the Music Kitchen because I'm not a DJ, I'm a photographer. And I said, reluctantly, I said, well, what do you want to call it? I don't want to give it to the kitchen because it's kind of honoring my mom.
Yeah.
She said, well, let's call it something else. We mostly do weddings. What about the wedding kitchen? I said, the wedding kitchen sounds good. And there you go.
Yeah, it's funny how the most quirky things are what makes people stick out. Like when I DJ at a wedding events, I go by DJ Flopito. So the question I get a lot is, do you speak Spanish? And I studied abroad a semester, but to me, my first car, I called it Flopito because I'm Flopo. So it's I treated it as if it was my own child. And therefore, I will treat your wedding the same thing. That's a cool story because I think a lot of people get hung up on trying to have a branded vibe. But if you are authentic to yourself, and it shows that you lead to quality work. 20 years in the game, that just tells you right there that you are just excelling at what you're doing. And when you have clients and they are your bride or your grooms, what do they usually say about you after the fact? What gets to be repeated phrases in your reviews after a wedding?
Well, it's cool. Of course, we get the fabulous, wow, amazing, which is great. But my biggest compliment is when the bride and groom feels like they're family, right? Our business was built on family. Our business was built on trusting family, and it's still a family-run business. So when I hear a client say that we treated them like family, that they felt comfortable, that they were able to relay their vision and we were able to take and run with it, that to me is the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was actually reading some of your reviews here, and this one here is from one of your past clients, and I'm going to be a little bit abridged here, but TWK event, the Wedding Kitchen customer experience was awesome. It was an absolute pleasure to work with everyone, and they were key in making our day perfect. There's doing the thing. You are, I assume, a DJ and MC. But the customer service thing has to be an important element. So what's your approach to dealing with your clients and making sure they don't have to worry about too much if they book you?
Well, again, goes back to the way I was brought up, my life experiences. I was able to live the hood life. I went to John Jay College, so I was able to live the blue collar life. I was a paralegal by trade, so I was able to kind of live the white collar life, if you want to call it that. And sure. I was able to incorporate that with dealing with my clients. I never did business school, so I was never taught customer service. I was taught, like I said, John Jay College, New York Paralegal School, and street education. What I did was, I kind of thought, I have children and I have a daughter, and we all know that weddings are mainly wrapped around women, right? Guys are there for... we're pretty much almost stand-ins, but
what time to start? I'll be there.
right. We rent the tuxedos. The brides buy the dress. We tell people to come. The brides, they invite the people. So in short, I kind of try to think of how. Well, first was trial and error when I first opened. I'm still not perfect, right? But I've learned that if I try to treat the brides and the grooms, mainly the brides, like I would want somebody to treat my daughter, it kind of comes a little easier for me. So I pretty much listen, try not to talk too much, see what they're envisioning, get a feel of the groom and the families, and try to envision that. Sometimes they don't even know what they want. So I try to envision it for them along with what they're telling me, what I think would work, what I know has worked in the past, present to them my ideas, and pretty much take it off from there. But pretty much listening and just picking up on little cues is the key.
Right. That's a pro tip. That's good for life, to making sure you are listening, your clients are being heard.
Right.
You had mentioned that your family was a very unique dynamic, a little bit high energy, but I'm sure that they put some values, imparted some values you passed on to your business. And then one of the cool
Yes.
things I realized with my own mom, I mean, she's a person of faith. My mom is Pentecostal as
Right.
well. It does have a different kind of perspective. I just want to see, like, how was your upbringing relating to your business?
Um, my upbringing was pretty much black and white, I would say. It was
Okay.
either you were in my father's favor or you wasn't. As I've said previously, he was pretty much the authoritarian in our home. So he was also a Pentecostal pastor at one point. So pretty strict. He was like I said, pretty much black and white. This is right. This is wrong. There's not much in between. The biggest thing I would say that I took from my dad, another man who's definitely nowhere near perfect, but he definitely instilled things in me back then, whether it was through a counsel or straight up fear. Either way is implanted in me, and it was to work hard for what I have. Very rarely do I ask for. Rarely, I've never asked for a handout. I pretty much funded everything after my mom contributed her $800 from her savings, hitting money from my dad to start things up, to incorporate and whatnot. But ever since then, I never was into getting loans. My father was also an entrepreneur. He was a printer as well back in the day. He had his own shop. Never really was into taking loans from the bank or anything like that. It was pretty much, if you can afford to do it on your own, don't do it. Stay small, work hard for what you want, and pretty much try to keep the trust in family. So, in a nutshell, keeping a close circle of positive individuals, and pretty much just instilling that hard work ethic to today's world.
Was it a hard conversation or discussion when you decided to be an entrepreneur, but in entertainment? Kind of like on the surface, seeing the opposite of modesty, if I could be so bold.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge. When I know, I got a lot of resistance too. I mean, like I said, I was growing up to be an attorney. That was my thing. So I didn't like the politics about it. As life went on, I saw that I was less interested in it, and I always had music in me. What happened was I was working for a firm in Newark, New Jersey. I ended up moving out to Newark, New Jersey, and I was working at a firm over there, and I really saw that there was a ceiling. For me to make $35,000, $40,000 back then, I mean, I had to do 80 hours a week, and then it was tough. It was tough, and I mean, I worked with some great people, and I learned a lot from them. But I knew back then that it wasn't something that I can do. That I had to do something that I liked, and I started doing two things at once. Once I started making more money, and I was always having a great time. But once I started being more successful in the wedding business, in the DJ business, because I was doing mostly clubs and stuff like that at first, I resigned from the 9 to 5, and I stepped out as an entrepreneur. It was very scary. I mean, no benefits, right?
Right.
It was you don't know where your next dollar is coming from. When you go, especially this year, 2020, through a big curveball to the entertainment business.
Yeah.
Right. So, luckily, we weren't affected as much as others in the sense of we were still able to make a living because people are still booking for 2021. And we're able to sustain the economic punch and get us through most of the year. And right now, again, we're back into booking season, so it's pretty cool. We're able to book and make our bookings through deposits and retainers, and got some parties into the end of the year. So it was pretty cool, but definitely scary to be a entrepreneur at first. But anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So
Right. I hope so.
right.
But let's talk about that. 2020, no one saw the scale. When you were working for yourself, you can always say there's going to be down months, there's going to be dry months. You
Right.
reap what you sow, save for the rainy day. This thing came out of nowhere. It seems a global pandemic. If you're listening to this in 2026 or something, it was a big adjustment for everyone. All of my jobs are entertainment based. I'm a comedian. I'm a DJ. I
Right.
do live events. You said that you were okay, but the idea, like, what went through your mind when you realized things were not going to be surmised or finished in a weekend or a week or two?
Right. Initially, especially watching the news, being quarantined, being in, it was panic, right? So, yeah, at first I panicked, and I was like, wow. I think I started. I think my last wedding was March, the 22nd of March, I believe. I just got that one in, and then the very next day, everything was shut down. So it was a panic, like pretty much a lot of people in the industry. This is my full-time job. I support my family with this. My wife also is like I said, one of the photographers here, Melanie, and we were taken back at first. Luckily, we had savings to count on. And it wasn't as bad as being on the stock market in the Great Depression. We had some reserves, and it took us about a week or two to realize that it wasn't going to open up anytime soon. So what do we do? So pretty much I knew if I was feeling like that, our couples, brides and grooms, were going to feel 3 or 4 times, it was going to be elevated the way they felt. So I made a commitment to myself to, even though I was panicked, not to show it. Reach out to all my clients throughout the whole year, let them know that we were here. If they had any questions, they can reach out to us, and just pretty much try to give them comfort and just open up a dialect with them. And believe it or not, they gave me comfort as well. They trusted in what I thought. I advise everybody start looking to do something later this year, giving them options for a B plan. But ultimately, I can tell you, what really got me, what made me relax and say, hey, this is all gonna be over soon, was my faith. Like I said, I'm Christian. I opened up my Bible, read a little bit, did some meditation, and I just listened to myself, listened to my inner spirit, and say, you're gonna be all right. And listen, God's never forsaken me, and I know He never will. So I was able to hold on to that, get some strength out of my faith, and move forward. And honestly, that lasted. I was panic mode for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then I got revelation and said, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Started moving forward. I started getting calls from couples who are doing something in 2021. So I realized that the wedding business was going to be, it was going to continue thriving, and that it wasn't going to take a backseat to anything. And here we are today. Everybody's right now, thank God the phone's ringing every single week. And I am in that unique niche where I can do English, but of course bilingual, and I can reach a different group of people in New Jersey besides just the regular English weddings. I can do multiple language weddings, and hey, my phone is ringing. So at the end of the day, it worked out, and I'm happy. So, what about yourself, man? How was it for you?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. So my first, because California opened. I live in Los Angeles now, proper. They locked down a little bit earlier than New York. Because I know when I locked down, my mom and my dad were like, what's that? Over there in Brooklyn. So I did my last wedding March 7th, and I went to Florida for a comedy show. I was doing stand-up that Thursday. And Thursday was the day everything shut down. The NBA walked off the court, and it was a big, serious thing. That flight home was kind of scary, and then it was scary for a while. Much like yourself, I had cash retained from events in the future, but then it became the song and dance of like, well, this can't go on forever, because then you'll have a log jam for 2021. So it was
Right.
it was weird for a while. My dad is very by the numbers. He's kind of like, well, quit that, do something else. But I was like,
Right.
no, my heart is here. My mom doesn't quite understand entertainment as live because in the Pentecostal faith, they learn to be modest. So she was
Right.
kind of like, I don't know what to tell you, but read your Bible every day, and you can find the bright side of things. So it's trickling in for me, and hopefully it gets to stay there more. But yeah, it was kind of scary because I'm not sure how you took it, but when the world said, "Hey, everything you do to make your living is now non-essential," it hurt.
Right.
it hurt for a bit,
Right.
But
Right.
hopefully
Right.
coming back.
They threw us a bone, right? They gave us some money to get by for a little while.
Yeah.
But then that was over 6 weeks later.
Right.
So yeah, I hear you, man.
I totally get it. But you mentioned in your response that you do both English and Spanish weddings, and about the intricacies and differences of those kind of formats, especially in regions. Because I know in California it's different for a bilingual wedding, but how was it in the New Jersey area for you and your company?
Latinos and Latino Americans and English Americans, Native Americans, not Native Americans, but non-Latino Americans, they're very different in the sense of the actual wedding day. The differences between one and the other is night and day. Like I said, I've done numerous non-Latino events, and they work out great, and it actually is a little more, hate to say it, organized in the sense cocktails at 5, everybody's there at 5 o'clock. Receptions at 6, everybody's there at 6 o'clock. So people understand the value of time in the United States of America. But the Latino American is very different. Our cultures are different. And unfortunately, 5 o'clock means 5:30 for a Latino. 6 o'clock means 6:30 and dragging your feet in at 6:30. So that's a big difference. The Latino events are generally more festive because back in our islands, it's pretty much and there's a reason why people get Latinos are known for being late. In our island, I'm from Puerto Rico. So in Puerto Rico and a lot of other islands, Dominican Republic, Cuba, I know those are just a handful of the ones that do pretty much the same. A wedding is a all-day thing. So 12 o'clock noon, in other words, and it's usually held at a relative's home or your home, whoever has the biggest home in the family. And doors open at 12, and you bring whoever you want to come, whoever want to come comes. They bring food for their party and a few other people, and that's how the family does. So they're coming in from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till and they'll not leave until like 2 in the morning. So our cultures are based with the way we bless our hosts is by bringing food and more people. So the difference between that and the American wedding is the American wedding is anticipating that envelope, right, for each individual that they invite. So those are, and again, 25 years later, especially for the Puerto Rican, more of the first Latinos to be in the tri-state area, we already got that wedding etiquette. We understand, hey, my invite said me plus one is going to be me plus one, not me plus 1, 2, 3, right?
Right.
And we bring an envelope appropriate for the amount of people that we're bringing. So, but it wasn't always like that. 20 years ago, it was funny. You can see the difference. And a lot of times, my wedding is like, and it's not two couples. It's not that the couples both are Latino. A lot of times, is a Latino and non-Latino, right?
Yeah.
So then that changes the entire. That changes the entire ball game. So it is my job as an entertainer, DJ, and MC to bring that room together, right? So we have one side of the room who is more who understands who's been invited to more weddings, maybe, or who knows a little bit more about the American etiquette of a wedding, and then we have the other room who's not, who's still used to doing it back at home in their countries or in their little island. And my objective is to get them both together. And how do I do that? Is a couple of different things. Psychology is a psychology game. try to read people's body language, listen to, look, see what people are enjoying, and just try to blend them. The last thing that you want to do is separate the room, right? Just because I know some people, oh, well, this side of the room is Italian, this side of the room is Colombian, so I'm going to play Spanish music at first because, the Colombians are going to get up, they're easy to get to dance, and then you're going to alienate the Italians or the non-Latinos. That's definitely not what you want to do, right? That's not what we do.
Right.
Bringing them together is playing neutral music, getting to having them concentrate on the bride and groom so that they're the focus of the event. And eventually, after a couple of drinks, couple of jokes, some good music, everybody's on the dance floor jamming out.
Yeah. I hear that wedding DJs have like a harder job in some aspects. You have to like know almost every genre at once, right? If you're in a wedding and you may have a different culture, different time period, a different age group, and someone's like, play that dope song from this artist in this genre, you have to think not only about that song, but like 2 songs that go with it, Right. So I got to ask you that cliche question, man. What has been the oddest request you've ever received and you still made work at a wedding?
The oddest request. The weirdest thing that I ever got was somebody asked me to play the chicken dance.
Oh no!
No. I hate to say it. I didn't have it, and I hate to. I don't think I would have played it if I did have it.
Yeah, don't hate to say that. Please.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't really get a lot of that. I used to, but in the last 10 or 15 years, I don't get too much of that. Simply because I give all my clients an online party planner. They're able to select songs prior to the wedding. So they get, I think, 20 must-play songs, 15 play if you can songs, 5 custom songs, and have a do not playlist. So in my conversation with our brides and grooms in the booking process, I let them know my style, what I do, what I don't do, what I'm comfortable with, and what I'm not comfortable with. I believe that there is a foot or a shoe for every foot, or back whatever the saying is, right? Yeah. There definitely is a shoe for every foot, and I am very versatile, but there's certain things that I don't like to make a wedding feel cheesy. I don't like weddings to be bar mitzvah-ish, where it's just full of lights and action and no nothing good behind the mic or the turntable. So pretty much with the online party plan, our clients are able to pick music and give me a good idea of what they like. So from their must plays, I try to get them all in. And I know if they like A, they're going to like B. And if, so forth and so on. And I mix what I know works at weddings along to what they like. And it's funny because at a club, it's totally different. When I work at clubs, people come to hear me. I can play whatever I like. I'm not taking requests, right? It's hey, you listen. You know what I'm about. I'm playing. I'm getting down, and you're gonna party. At a wedding, it's very different. It's not a club. A wedding obviously has a lot of formalities, a lot of structure. You're working for the bride and groom. They're not there to hear you. They hired you, so you have to get what they want in, and at the same time, they hired us for a reason. So we want to incorporate what we know works with their song selections. One of my DJs, though, in our company hates Despacito to this day. Right?
Okay. I mean, I didn't hate it at first. I hate it now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's crazy. But he was like, oh no, Despacito. He was anti-Despacito, and of course, it was the biggest hit. And Latinos and non-Latinos were requesting it. It was almost like Suavemente. That's like everybody's go-to thing.
Yeah.
They don't have to be Latinos. Say, Suavemente. You got Suavemente?
Oh, and man. Like, everyone knows Tu Sonrisas way better as a song, but whatever, man.
Right. And none of those two are any of my go-tos ever. Yeah. But, that's as bad as it gets in my room, thank God. Not too much worse.
I got you. That's cool. Yeah, I like hearing those kind of songs. Chicken Dance is definitely one of mine. It's like, oh man, I don't want to play this one, but I'll do it because it's client first. But that's
right. They're paying. They're paying. We playing.
I always chuckle when a couple says, "Whatever you do, please don't play the electric slide." It's like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to. Like I did. I've been
no line
like 10
dances.
years.
No line dances. Yeah. Well, people ask me. I mean, I never go to that. But you're right. If a client says, hey, I want the cha-cha slide, or I want the Cupid shuffle, cool.
Yeah.
I haven't got a request for the electric slide in at least 6 or 7 years on the playlist, so cool.
Cross the fingers, man.
Yeah. Right.
So I know that you mentioned just real quick about, you have a multi-op, you have other DJs that do work for you, and I know every DJ has their own style, but like as an owner, as the CEO, how do you do that balance between letting a DJ be their individual, but still having that quality control under your brand?
Yeah, I believe that in order for any company to be successful, you're only going to be as good as the people that you surround yourself with.
True.
And you definitely hit you said it right when there has to be everybody should be original. And I definitely encourage our photographers, all our DJs, be original. That's why you're part of the team. But at the same time, there has to be a certain level of we have to be alike in some things. One of my pet peeves is neatness, right? I like my DJs to have a facade. I like their wires to be hidden. I like everything to be taped down. I want them to get there an hour and a half before the party is supposed to start. I get it. Hey, you got a little setup. It only takes you half an hour. I don't care. I want you there an hour and a half before. So things like that. We all use the same party planner, the same format of how we do introductions, first dances, toast, blessing, a dance set. Then get seated for dinner and so forth and so on. So we kind of keep the same format, which is crucial to us. We share the same library, so all our salsa tracks would be 1,000 salsa tracks in our libraries. Everybody has their top 15, top 20. So we kind of have the same music library. So that's also a big plus. So it's pretty much similar, but just a little different in their styles and my styles, and every individual should have their own style. But not too much talking, get the point in, play your music, clean versions. I don't want to hear cursing and anything like that. I don't want to hear one in your ear, one out your nose, and just keep it clean. Show your individualism. I want everybody to show their color. And at the end of the day, we're there for one purpose, and it's so that the bride and groom can come out and say, "Hey, that was a great event." All our brides and grooms get a pre-party consultation, so they'll be able to review the online party plan, or they'll be able to say, "Hey, I really want to focus on this," or stay away from this. Give my abuelita 1 or 2 plenas, but that's it. So
right.
We get a good feel for what they want, and that's how we approach every day.
Yeah, you mentioned your party planner, and I know that as we get past this pandemic on, and this business changes all the time. I've been in it about 4 or 5 years myself, and it's changed. I know besides technology, besides like booking strategies, like where do you see the business going as a professional in this industry?
Good question, man. I believe things are changing as far as the booking process.
Okay.
Before, 95% of our couples wanted to meet in person. I would too. I mean, it gets expensive. A couple of thousand for a DJ, a few thousand for photography, a couple of thousand for video, 1,000 for photo booth. Before you know it, it's up there with buying a car, right? The same price as buying a cheap car. But things are changing. So one of the things that I'm pretty sure is changing in the future is how people are booking. Since the pandemic hit, there was no in person. Everything was over the phone, Zoom, website based, media based, and stuff like that. So that definitely looks is going to be here to stay. I still believe that people, when they're spending good money, when they're investing in their day, that they want to see who they're investing with. Sure. So I believe some of that's going to come back, but I believe in the future going to be a lot of on phone, video chatting, or a combination of both. And then that's how they're going to book. As far as the venues and how a wedding is going to be, how it's conducted, I believe that's going to be the same. I think it's been like that for a long time. Certain things you can't change. The micro weddings may work for some, but again, most of my weddings are bilingual, based Latino, either one or the other. We don't do anything micro. There's no micro in Latino. It's
right.
It's big or nothing.
Right. Get everyone invited.
Right. So I anticipate it to be good. I believe if the way my phone's been ringing and the inquiries that we got, if that's any indication of what to expect in 2021, it's pretty good. It's definitely lopsided as far as the beginning of the year as opposed to the second half of the year. I mean, second half of the year is bananas. They're trying to fit 100 weddings in 3 or 4 months. But it looks good, man. Even 2022, we've got some bookings for 2022 in March already. I got some in April for 2022. Oh, nice. So it's a good indicator that things are going to get back to normal. God willing.
Right, cross our fingers. I want before I let you go, man. I was reading this about you, and I want answers. I need answers, right? Okay. It says that you went to school with LL Cool J. Is that true?
Yes.
What? Tell me about this.
He was his name is James Todd, right? He hated anybody that called him James Todd.
We like this, yeah.
Right. So I was in junior high school with him. He came in. I went to Susan B. Anthony IS 238 in Queens, in Jamaica. And it was from 6th to 8th grade, so it was only 3 years. He came in the middle of our 6th grade year. And came in with an attitude, chip on his shoulder, just moved, just new kid on the block. And he wasn't in my class. He only had like 1 or 2 classes with me. So I knew him passing by. I mean, if he saw me in the street, he may give me a nod. Whatnot, but he was a cool dude. He came out with Rock the Bells, Mama's Gonna Knock You Out, and all that other good stuff. And he came up in the neighborhood. He's my age. He came up. He did. He was positive. Was confident. And the funny thing about LL Cool J, my best friend. I'm not gonna mention his name, but one of my best friends was always banging out with him. It was like didn't like him. He was kind of the same size, a bigger guy, and they were like constantly fighting. So, which was the case with him, a good friend of mine throughout my entire childhood. Anybody who was somebody, he fought with. Yeah. So, needless to say, we didn't get LL Cool J, he hooked up a lot of people, Damien from FUBU and stuff like that. If you were in his circle, he took care of his. I was never in his circle, right?
Oh, you gotta hit him up, man. You gotta get that group photo.
We did a Instagram live, like around during the quarantine. We did an Instagram live. I was on with him for like a couple of minutes. We talked about school, the neighborhood, about my friend and stuff like that. So it was cool. I got it recorded and everything. So he still shares the love, and he's cool people. Now I'm cool with him now, but I wasn't in that circle that he was with. And that's okay, man. Everybody, like I said, everybody has a purpose. My father would have never allowed me to be in a circle anyway. It was lights on in the street, get back home.
Right.
Everybody else in Hollis, lights go out, it's time to get out. So,
right.
It
was trippy though, seeing your high school schoolmate on TV every week in front of 40 million people.
And I also had, like I said, Damien and Jalix, the owners of FUBU. Now him I know a lot more personally, and he's even more successful. He's in the Shark Tank. He had the FUBU line and stuff like that. Yeah, like I said, I did a lot. When I was into the hip hop thing and I was first getting into like the club scene, New York was the melting pot. There were a lot of famous people hanging out. McDonald's was in the clubs, Crazy Legs was in the clubs. Doing the hip, the bebop thing, b-boy stuff. So a lot of these people were just, the average Joes. Hey, what's up, Jose? Whatever. They grew up to be pioneers in their industry, and what they do. So, man, it was pretty interesting growing up in New York City for sure.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool to hear, man. That warms my heart. There's one more question before we get out of here, man. Are you Serato, Tractor, or Vinyl? I'm just curious.
Serato.
Okay, Serato. Same here. That's what's up.
Yeah, I'm Serato. I have the DDJ-Z. I just got the SZ2 as well.
Okay.
I'm a pioneer nigga, but I did grow up with the vinyl. I did start off with the 1200s, the Techniques. I was never a master of it. I was never a scratch up DJ. I was always a blend DJ. Try to put 3 records, match beats on 3. That was always my thing. Create with what already was created.
Right.
So when the vinyl came over to DVDs, to CDs, it was, for me, it was such a big problem. It wasn't such a big problem like it was for a lot of other DJs who say, I will never go to CDs. and obviously later now to MP3s, because I was always a blender. That wasn't a, that wasn't it. It was always just matching beats, creating certain beats, looping them with tracks, and try to mix 2 to 4 songs together to create a unique sound. So that's what that's what I do now, and the transition wasn't as hard as some. I have some buddies who would never touch an MP3. They're still with the vinyl, with the crates and stuff. But I allow technology to help. I don't see technology as a bad thing.
I hear you. I got the SX2 and SC, but the thing is, man, if you don't realize that DJ workout, it wears on you in August and September. It's like those crates, bro. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, even today, even with just the setups today are so extravagant, right? Yeah. Back in the day, with a couple of lights on a stand, you bring a mixer and a microphone, and you go. Now there's so many. Everybody's trying to outdo everybody else. The brides, they want, it's like a competition. My cousin had this or my sister had that. I got to do better. So now it's 4 or 5 light shows, for a light show, DMX controlled, sparklers, dancing on the clouds. Everything is covered with lighting and LEDs. It's like South Beach in a 4,000 square foot room, So right. Carrying and stuff like that. That is definitely a workout. You don't need to go to the gym. It is a workout in itself.
Yeah. It's funny because, ironically, I went to the gym last off season to get the base athleticism to hold up, because I got 15 inches. I got the EV ZLXs. So I'm like, those are like 30-pound man pajamas, You can't be walking there feeling sore 3 days after that. So that's war stories.
Yeah, man. You know how it goes. It's tough, man. It's part of the job, and that's a big thing. And I'm glad you touched on that. And the last note I was going to say is a lot of that goes into our pricing, right? There's in our industry, there's a big, hey, why are you $2,000 for a 4-hour reception, and Beto over here is $500, mm-hmm. And and in their head, they're saying for the same 4-hour reception. So it's confusing. And when people lowball like that on industry, it makes the ones who have been around a little longer and who invest in their craft and in their system, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I try to educate people all the time, especially the younger guys. I got a couple of young guys who grow up and they know me, they heard about it. And I try to give them, hey, what should I charge? Well, look what you have, how much experience you have. Look at what the official people in the industry are charging and what they're charging for, and you evaluate. You make a fair price. But that's a huge thing in this industry. Like why and how or what. A 4-hour party, besides loading and unloading, is going to take for us any given night, loading and unloading total of 3 hours, right? Plus the time that we're there. Plus the time that we have to be prepared for. You're looking a 4-hour reception with a 1-hour cocktail. Let's say just 5 hours. You're looking at an easy 8 hours to 9 hours just on site.
Agreed.
Right. So it's when you start looking at it like that, then the preparing part of it. Like if you don't prepare, it's not going to be good. Like, so you have to invest time in preparing. All that stuff creates the price point that where we're at and stuff, and we're trying to educate people in that sense. Be smart, don't gouge, but you have to charge accordingly and stuff.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a lot of creative pursuits anywhere have that same issue. Like you can be very undercut because the function is playing the music. For a lot of people, DJing is playing the music, but it does things I didn't think will cost as much money, like the tape down wires, or that facade. Hello. Or what I mean. Those are things that put you at a different price point because your buddy can do it for $200, but does he have insurance if he blows down the venue? Like it's just a lot of things people don't think about when they think of the music person. So
correct. Yeah, man. So it is a revolving thing, but I believe like every day there's a new DJ out there, a new company out there, and that's okay. They'll take the people who want that, who don't care too much about that, and that's fine as well. We're specific in our target, and we're satisfied with who's calling us and the jobs that we're booking. So God is good, thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much, DJ Prof, for coming on this edition of New Amsterdam Radio, TWK Events. Tell the world how they can look up you online, how they can book you, all that great stuff.
Flobo, man, pretty much if you put down a Spanish DJ, bilingual DJ, if you add wedding to the mix, if you add Spanish wedding DJ or Latin wedding DJ anywhere in the tri-state, New Jersey, New York, tri-state area, we're going to pop up. So that's the main thing. Just Google bilingual wedding DJ or bilingual DJ land, and you're going to see us one way or the other. We've been there forever. So, yeah. And besides that, of course, Instagram, hashtag TWK events, DJ Profit. That's our handle, and it's been working. So that's where we're at.
That is fantastic. Any final words for the faithful here? Any kind of pro tips? Anything you want to share before we get out of here?
Man, just don't give up on your dream. If this is something that you want to do seriously, then take it seriously. Treat it like it's like a doctor would treat a pre-surgery and how he would act during surgery. Just give it 100%, educate yourself in it, give the client good product, and the rest will fall in place.
That does it for me on this edition of New Amsterdam Radio. Make sure you follow the show at New Amsterdam on Instagram and at New_Amsterdam on Twitter. Once again, I'm Flobo Boys. You can follow me personally at Flobo Boys on Twitter and at Flobito on Instagram. We'll be back sooner than you think with more stories for the city of creatives. Until next time, as always, this city is yours.